In this video we're going to learn how to read input into our program. So you're going to type the following. Well, first off, crank up Visual Studio, make a project as usual. Okay? Use either the template or a blank sheet the way I have it here. Either one. So this is in Solution Explorer, as you can see, program.cs. That hasn't changed. Right, so we are going to say here the following. First type using system like this. Once you have typed using system, you will type, make a namespace, say sample, open close curly braces. Within this we will place a class, so class program, like that. And then the next stage, let me delete the reference code that I have below. We're going to make some manipulations as follows. You'll type static void main. This is our entry point into the program. Okay, entry point into program. Remember that, entry point into program, like that. At the next stage, we're going to manipulate the console window. So to do that, you'll type console.foreground color. This is the font color, okay, the color of the writing. And then you can type console color dot blue. See that? Close out a semicolon. There you go. So this is the font color, like this. This is the writing color. Alright, next you're going to type the following. Let me just delete my reference code that I'm not using anymore. There you go. And next we will type now console.background color and set that equal to console color.white, like that. So this is the background color, okay? This is the color of the stuff behind the font, behind the writing. There you go. So next we're going to say here console color.writeline. I'm sorry, console.writeline. And now you will say here enter session name, close out the semicolon, then you will type following console dot and then title and set that equal to and then console.readline. And now at the next stage, let me just delete the code that I have for reference. This is too much to try to remember, as you can easily imagine. So next we are going to say here console dot and then writeline. Now here we will say enter first value into the program, basically. That's what that means. And remember, a lot of these speak for themselves. Title simply means that will be the title of the window. Okay? That's all. It speaks for itself, I think. Next we are going to read input. So read input. And we will type here, let me delete this. And then let's type here double input first, set that equal to the following, double dot parse and then console dot readline, and this here read input in the following form. Read input from line and then double dot parse converts to numerical form. So you think of this as going from the inside to the outside. Read the line, then convert to numerical form in that sequence of steps. Okay, inside to outside, the way we do mathematics, for example. Okay, like in math, if you have 2x plus 4 and then you have plus 10, you would do this stuff. Imagine I have 4x. The stuff inside the parentheses would be done first, and then you would add the 10. Same principle in programming, roughly speaking, from the inside to the outside. Alright, so next what we're going to do is this. Enter the second value. Okay? So now you are going to say here console.writeline and then enter second value. Okay, put a semicolon, and next at the next stage we are going to read that. So double second input. Let's make this one here input second, like this. That's the name. And then set that equal to, and now we're going to write here double dot and then parse as usual, like this, and then console.readline, like this. Okay, so read the second input. That's the meaning of that line. Alright, now we're going to do some really simple math with this input. Okay, after all, a computer program is not very useful if you cannot operate an input. So here at the next stage, let me comment this. Okay, so read input again to get second value into program. That's the purpose of the next two lines. There you go. So now what we're going to do is type the console dot write line and then sum is, and now here we'll do the following. You have to be really careful. Okay, I'll show you why. Plus, and now type input first plus input second, like this. You see, and close that with a semicolon. So make sure you group these together within a parentheses. If you don't, I'll show you what will happen. And then console.writeLine, and then here you will say difference is, and then you will say here plus, and then input first minus input second, close out with a semicolon. There you go. So this line below displays the sum. The line below this one displays the difference, like this. Okay? And make sure that both cases have this grouped as a unit, you see? Within the parentheses. That's very important. Okay, so now that we have this entered, we can run the code, and this code here is straightforward. It's top down. Okay? Very straightforward from the top to the bottom. So go debug and step into. It's still helpful to do that. So that will build our code. Alright. Let it initialize everything. So there are our variables in the local window. If you don't see that, if you don't see some of the windows, you have to go to debug windows, and now you will see the windows that I have. You see, make sure you choose the locals window, Alt 4. Okay, key combo Alt 4. Alright, and now you would type, okay, set that. There you go, set the title. So now as you can see, it says enter session name. Okay, so here we will say Tom and 5/9/2015 and hit enter. Okay? And then read the first value. And now take a look. You see where it says Tom 5/9/2015, we have changed to the title. So enter the first value of 10, and notice the writing is blue and the stuff behind it is white. Alright, read the second value. Right, 20, say, and then hit enter. And that's input, correct? And that's it. Now, let me get the little window back. And notice that it says the sum is 30 and the difference is -10. And it's working as expected, okay? So now what I want to show you is this. Let me X this off the screen. And here the observation is this. If I do this, and I remove the parentheses, okay? And if I try to run this code, look very carefully. I will go with debug and start without debugging, so it's faster. You see, it says enter session name. Okay, say Tom, enter first value 10, enter second value 20, and it says the sum is 1020. That is not correct. 10 and 20 is not 1020. It's supposed to be 30, correct? So that means the following. X this off the screen. That means right here, what this is doing is it's grouping the input first with the sum is, and then with the input second. That's not the interpretation that we want. We want the mathematical operation. So you indicate that by putting this within the parentheses. Like that, okay? Alright, so that's a bit of insight. Now, open the toolbox here, pin it if you don't have it, like this. Okay, let me delete this. I'm deleting something that, you know, okay. If you don't have the toolbox, go to View, of course, and then choose Toolbox, Control W. And here, if you want to add a new tab, you can. You can right-click in the space, and you see where it says Add Tab. Choose that, and then you can give it a name. So, for example, My Codes. Okay, like that. And of course, this is collapsible and expandable. You see. And now you can highlight all this code, and then drag it and drop it into that space. You see that? And there's a nice preview of it. If you right click, you can rename it. Okay, so say code from 5/9/2015, and that's it. So we've learned, you know, how to also save code. And the cool thing about this is now when you open Visual Studio later, this code here from the toolbox will always be available, so which means the following, that you can make use of it in the future simply by dragging and dropping it in. That's it. Just drag it and drop it in. Okay? And then you can use it. So if I made a new file, take a look. If I take this one, and if I make a copy of it, and I paste it in here, like this, right, and I open it, and I delete this old code as if I had a blank sheet, right, imagine I have a blank sheet completely, so I'm going to drag and drop this in, and the code is reusable, you see? So this is a really nice feature. There you go. And I don't need to save this copy, I don't care about this copy, correct? There you go. That is it for this one.